As the continent positions itself to improve industrialization, the how remains the bigger question, especially at a time the rest of the world is moving from dependence on fossil fuel, a resource Africa has in abundance, one yet to be fully maximized for its own benefit.
Africa, of course, needs to come together to put out a vision that is ours, for climate change and for carbon neutrality by 2050 or 2060 or whatever target we choose. I think the first step...
Have a vision that is ours?
I don't think that Africa has a vision now, but we are certainly doing a lot towards that, and we think that Egypt, come COP27, we will be able to articulate an African vision, an African initiative, because of course all of the conversation has been dominated by the wealthier countries. They're the ones who defined practically everything about how to respond to climate change. But our own peculiarities are different. Our challenges are different.
Professor Osinbajo's view on Africa's stance on the climate conversation reverberates across the room, as president of the AFC, Samaila Zubeiru, agrees that Africa must create its own agenda towards industrialization.
We should have a unified narrative about what is important for Africa. We have mentioned before that we are least responsible for climate change, and that the best way for us to intervene and the best contribution that Africa can make to climate is not by reducing the emissions that we don't make. That's not how we reduce carbon emissions, because we don't make them in any case. Our energy intensity is too low for any emissions to happen. And like I mentioned in the past, we are already absorbing most of the emissions through our forests.
We must set the target for net zero on a per capita basis. We should set per person. When we set per person, we will then see that Africa has a long way to go. Because that then gives us the room to begin to use our available transition energy, gas, and other things to develop our place to bring us to sun level. So we can then have a mix of fossil and renewable energy that enables us to develop.
For Ghana's president, Africa must address structural constraints in the global capital markets in its quest to finance its infrastructure deficit, which runs into trillions of dollars.
Is this so-called African risk premium? You have a situation where we go to the market for money and we pay much more than our equivalents elsewhere. You want to ask yourself the question, why? It is because we are perceived as being riskier for the investors. Risk. How is that defined? Argentina, and this is without prejudice to, but Argentina in recent times has defaulted 9 separate occasions on its debt. Yet, 5-6 years ago, I believe it was in 2017, when Argentina went to the market to raise a 100-year bond, it ended up paying a coupon rate of, I believe it's 6.5% to 7%. Angola, which has not defaulted since the end of the Civil War on any of its debt obligations, went to the market at the same time and tried to raise a bond and was asked to pay 2 percentage points more than Argentina. So you ask yourself, what is it? What's going on? And these are the matters that the leaders on the continent, we need to find a solution for and address.
The Deputy Governor of Nigeria's central bank is of the opinion that sources of funding abound.
The key is unlocking new sources of funding, both international and domestic. Be assured such capital is available. It is locked in pension funds, insurance companies, sovereign wealth funds, mutual funds. We are limited only by our ability to reduce risk for investors and provide stable, steady, and predictable competitive returns.
The $2 billion facility, dubbed African Economic Resilience, will be disbursed via loans from AFC to select commercial banks, regional development banks, and central banks in various African countries to provide them with much-needed hard currency liquidity to finance trade and other economic activities in their various jurisdictions. Onyi Sunday, Arise News.